for example, we want to deploy a static website, uh, HTML, CSS, JavaScript based website onto the AWS. In that case, what we will do is we can use one of the storage service S3. So in that case, we will create a bucket and host our HTML website over there in that bucket. Okay, and after that we will map this S3 with CloudFront services. Okay, so that we can in a network section, I think. Uh, Okay, so that S3 bucket we can map with the CloudFront services. So by using S3 and CloudFront integrated with the S3 folder, we can easily able to host our um, static website. Okay, same way we are even also able to use route 53 linking, so we can even link our domain in that case with the uh, for deploying our S3 I mean static website. Okay, so this is some kind of options like S3 plus uh, CloudFront, also plus Route 53. We can able to map the domain with the CloudFront URL, right? So we can host our like static website code in S3 bucket. Then we can launch the CDN CloudFront, and then we'll link with S3, and then that CloudFront URL we can map through our real-time domain like www.xyz.com. So through through Route 53 service. Okay, so that way we can easily launch our uh, static website. If we want to build our dynamic web application in non-serverless way, means like EC2, in that case what happened, like first of all we can launch our EC2 instance, like say for example Linux based EC2 instance. Then we can install some needful application inside that, say for example PHP, and we can get it hosted our code over there. Okay, so we can create it as a application server. Then we can create a database, say for example RDS MySQL, and then we can create that MySQL database. So that database will get connected with the within a application server code. And so our EC2 instance will run, and that will connect to database. So it will be um, uh, in our dynamic application case. Okay, so this our application server EC2 instance will run our application code and connect with database and process the data, and S3 will help us to get the static images and videos and those kind of file. Even we are able to use CloudFront in between, like so that whatever heavy video or images and those kind of things coming through CDN, okay, cloud CD and CloudFront, so that will load it fast. Say for example, somebody opening the website from USA, and our images are hosted on S3. Okay, and so like in that case, it will doesn't matter the where it is loading from. So once it is load, it will catch on the its location, and it will easily load it, right? So that way we are able to use different services together. Say for example, we have a CloudFront, then in and like on top of S3 we have a CloudFront, and that CloudFront CDN URL used in the front end when loading the static resources in the code level. Okay, and also EC2 running the application code and database in the RDS. Okay, so if we have some heavy traffic, I mean we have some more clients, and when a load is increasing, we are easily also we are able to do like auto scaling. We are able to use auto scaling service. Okay, so that is in management and governance we have auto scaling. So that auto scaling service will automatically up the EC2 instances when we have a traffic increases on our website based on some rules we are writing into auto scaling. So it will auto up the EC2 instance. Okay, and even we are able to use load balancer, so it will balance the load between multiple servers. Okay, so that way we are able to handle the unpredictable traffic through auto scaling our EC2 instance. Okay, sometimes it's also happen like whenever loads on application server, we are able to do auto scaling, even load balancer. And when we have some load on our RDS database, at that time, sometime in RDS database, we are able to use like if we are using MySQL database, we are able to use Aurora our RDS database, so it will have a better performance. Also, say for example, sometime we are using RDS and RDS is taking a much load. In that case, we are able to use elastic cache in between. So whenever we our EC2 application is doing operation on RDS, before doing operation on RDS for fetching a data or something, it will check in elastic cache, radius based or a mem cache based. It will just check in the cache. If it is available, then fetch it, otherwise store it and next time use from cache. So that way it will improve the performance of application instead of only using the RDS connection every time or fetching from real-time relational database every time. So this way we are able to enhance performance of our application, like introducing caching in between RDS operation. Okay, so we are able to use this kind of different services based on our needs and based on our application traffic and based on our application data size and all those things, right? So even if we have a RDS used, we have elastic case used, and we have a heavy application, multiple application server and auto scaling and load balancer, sometime at we our database is taking down when we have a very heavy traffic. In that case, we are also like some people are using admin for generating reports, right? So in that case, we are also able to use data warehouse like Amazon Redshift. So, and what happened, like we will sync our RDS real-time database with our data warehouse. So in admin panel, whenever client generating report, we are easily able to generate those reports based on this data warehouse Redshift database, and real-time database we don't touch. So it will only for real-time client operation on mobile application or web application interact with the RDS database and admin reports generated from Redshift data warehouse. So that way also we are able to balance our loads. Okay, so there are multiple ways we can do the architecture of our application, and we can manage that. So even if we have a very extremely load in our real time, like near to or a completely real time scenario, in that case, of course we go for serverless, right? So this, if we manage this lots of EC2 instance and lots of auto scaling, I mean many servers and auto scaling and database and warehouse and many things. So at we lacking at some point, then of course for real time application and heavy traffic application and heavy data application, we can of course go for the serverless, right? So what happened in serverless case, we can easily create the serverless APIs by using API gateway, right? So here we have API gateway service, so that we are able to easily able to create the endpoints. Then by using that API gateway endpoint, we are able to link that integrate that API gateway endpoint with Lambda. So Lambda is also a serverless service. So as soon as a API gateway endpoint call from browser or somewhere, it will call the Lambda. So both services are serverless, and Lambda is also serverless. So it will execute that particular Lambda function and do the whatever business logic we want in microservice level, right? So that way we can do multiple microservices. So or whatever hundreds of, say for example, if you want to implement to do APIs, then we have like create to do and update to do, delete to do, and those kind of micro APIs, microservices, APIs and Lambda functions are there. Okay, so that way we are able to do a serverless application. Even in some cases we have a very extremely loads in our serverless architecture, then of course we are able to distribute, like decouple those operation through SQS and through SNS And even step function we can easily orchestrate, like we can easily do orchestration at lambda for multiple lambda function or multiple services to do the different operation. Like even event bridge is also kind of like cool for doing scheduling kind of things in the with lambda function, or doing event pattern matching, in e-commerce application, whenever invoice place, then that uh, event placed on particular event bus, and it will call different services like reward services or invoice generated services or different kind of things based on particular routing matching, like. Okay, so many things is possible with even with. So according to the needs, we can design our architecture, either a serverless, then we can utilize different serverless services, like SQS. Whenever extremely traffic and we want to decouple the operation, then we can use like SQS and lambdas and step function and event base and those kind of services. Even for front end of our application, even we are able to use amplify, like a front end developer can easily use amplify I mean amplify through like following some even they can use framework, and following some step they are easily able to like install the storage and APIs. Easily they are able to do through few step, and ready to use the admin panel and all those things. So even this graph app sync is also kind of one option, like we are able to do app sync based endpoint operation according to their our architecture. Let's cover some high level idea about architecture. Like this is a kind of serverless application architecture at high level, a basic overview. Say for example, we have a front end of our application is hosted on the S3 bucket. So this is a Amazon S3 used here, and we have HTML, CSS, and JavaScript code of our application hosted on this S3 static. And as soon as client side hit on the browser hit www.xyz.com or example.com, whatever website, it will call the Amazon CloudFront service, and that will map to the Amazon S3 and load the particular static resources, HTML, in the browser. And whenever this HTML load in dynamic application, we will have a some API calls like api.example.com or api.xyz.com, and that API will hit the Amazon API gateway according to the different endpoints, and that Amazon API gateway, based on the different endpoint called from the particular HTML of the web application, it will do Amazon API gateway endpoint call, and that endpoint will call particular lambda function for different operation, and that lambda function have some business logic. It will either do the operation with DynamoDB or some RDS database. Also, if possible, like doing some database operation according to the traffic, we are doing some caching relevant operation. If it is available from cache, then data load from there. Otherwise it load from RDS or some database, and then return those data to API endpoint in the browser as a session or something like that. So also, like in some API we are able to S3 or whatever we need. So this way, even if we have HTTPS, we have a AWS certificate manager for loading those HTTPS secured certificate. So this way we will have like static website hosted by using Amazon S3, Amazon CloudFront, and those is loaded separately. And as soon as it is load, it will do the API endpoint call. That is API is implemented by using Amazon API Gateway, Amazon Lambda, AWS Lambda, and some other needful DB resources like DynamoDB or RDS or some Elastic Cache or S3, whatever operation we need. We are also able to implement some Lambda authorizers if we need, or we are able to use Cognito, like for doing user authentication, sign in, sign up, or some federated identity. We are able to use Amazon Cognito. Okay, so this way we are able to implement some kind of serverless web application. So that will cover front end as well as back end APIs and all those operations dynamically Okay, so this is just a serverless architecture idea after getting the get to know about all those different services. Here we have some idea about web application hosted on EC2 kind of architectures. Like so we have a, say for example, in within AWS we have hosted different ECE web servers means as a EC2, and we have auto scaling on top of that, and we have also have a DynamoDB, or we can say RDS, and all those database connected with this application server. Okay, so as soon as www.xyz.com call, it will call to the Amazon Route 53 hosted zone, that will do the DNS mapping. It will call to load balancer, elastic load balancer will call to particular EC2 instance, and according to the whenever traffic increase, auto scaling will automatically up our web servers EC2 instance. Okay, so that way, if we have some high traffic and we have very high load on RDS or some other DB, we are able to do elastic. We able to use elastic cache, so we can do read data from cache instead of real time database and all those things. So here CloudWatch we can use for log tracing purpose and all those things. Okay, same way, like whenever call doing media.example.com, it will do call to the Amazon cloud front, so it will load the resources, low latency resources from S3 bucket. Okay, so the static content served through media.example.com, and application will be called by using this URL. So this way we can use different AWS services and do architecture for our web application, like for like custom architecture or a serverless architecture, whatever we want to do, or even microservice case we can use to service architecture. Even we can go broad level by using as like we can use many different serverless services like SES, SQS, step function, and event bridge, and according to our needs we can organize the different architecture at high level. Even in this custom architecture we can even introduce like data warehouse and like Redshift. According to our needs we can scale up our architecture, and we can handle the more loads. Okay, so this is just a high level idea about the architecture things. So as soon as you can explore more, you will get a more and more idea on that. So this is a completely overview on all different services, different architecture. If you like this kind of session, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Please do share it with everyone, and don't forget to subscribe it. Thank you so much for your time and looking into this, but don't forget to explore it practically yourself. You will of course get a track on this. AWS is rocking around. Thank you community, thank you so much for your time.